today. Court ruling in the case of Oyo State local governor Sheen ruled that right to sack elect local government councils. So, in case you don't know the backs, Makinde took office. The previous administration held local government elections. But the day after he took office, Makinde sacked all the councils and appointed caretakers. The sacked council members took him to court, and almost 3 years later, they now got this judgment where the Supreme Court ruled that state governors have no right to do what Makinde did. And this conversation, if you think about it, is really about local government autonomy. I've been telling you about the Senate public hearing on restructuring later this month on the 26th and 27th. And one of the issues they want you to address at that hearing is local government autonomy. They want you to tell them what your opinion is. How much autonomy should the local governments have? How should the autonomy be enshrined? So I'm hoping that we achieve some parts of our goal today, which is to get into this issue, have a robust conversation about it, so that when you go down to the public hearing, you're coming with the facts, you're coming with the arguments to make your case. Now, like I said, we have a guest joining us from SBM Intelligence. He's a lawyer. He's also a senior researcher with SBM Intelligence. Ikemeside, thank you so much for coming back on Hard Facts.
Thanks so much for having me once again, Sandra. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking. Now, Lagos, as we're having this conversation, we want to hear from you as well. What questions do you have for our guests about the Supreme Court's ruling on local government elections? Do you agree with the Supreme Court's ruling? In what ways should Nigeria be restructured to guarantee local government autonomy? Now, my first question for Ikemesit will be what the basis was for this ruling by the Supreme Court. What basis did the Supreme Court give for its ruling?
Okay, so I mean, it's very simple and very clear, right? You know, the local government is clearly defined under our constitution as the third tier, right, of government. Right. Listeners are very familiar with all the three tiers of government: right, federal, state, and and the local government. And you've had this increasing practice by many state governors scattered all around the country. There isn't any regional variation to this behavior. It's become almost a pet project, right, of many state governors, of weakening and testing the extent, right, of local government autonomy, right. And this has been happening for years. This isn't a recent development. This conversation really started in the second term of our first democratically elected president this side of the 21st century, right? President Olusegun Obasanjo, and this debate has been going on for a while, and the debate is, what is the extent of autonomy that local government councils across the country, right, are entitled to? How far does their power go? Because even though the Constitution clearly provides for local government areas and local government councils to administer those local government areas, the extent of local government autonomy and the powers that these local government councils are to exercise are not clearly defined by the Constitution or by the Local Government Council Enablement and Establishment Act, or various state regulations. So it's really up to the state to largely determine the extent to which, local governments, are able to exercise powers and, the competent areas, right, within which local governments can exercise, those powers. And so what you've seen is that, state governments have extended that power of defining local government authority to also include defining what the composition of those local government authorities should be, how, for how long they should be in office, in addition to, the things that the Constitution is probably a bit more clearer about, as to, the fact that they should exist in the first place. So it's because of that legal gray area, right, and that, the Supreme Court, right, in essence had to step in to properly interpret, what the intentions, of the Constitution, of the drafters of the Constitution was, right, when they provided for the establishment of local government. And the Supreme Court clearly took the position that, local governments were established with a view to exercising significant, significant governmental authority. And up until now, state governments have not respected, that intent, right? That intention on the part of the constitutional drafters. And so the Supreme Court is basically, by this judgment, seeking to, in a very narrow sense, right? Because the Supreme Court could have actually, taken the opportunity to quite, define in a very expansive and in a very exhaustive way, what the rights, what the responsibilities are, the competencies of local government.
So you're saying that the ruling didn't go far enough?
The ruling didn't go far enough. The ruling only went as far as stating that, the state governments clearly do not have the power to determine the composition, right, and the duration, right, of local government councils across the country. In the Supreme Court's view, there was no way the drafters of the Constitution intended for the state governments to have, so powerful and so expansive, a right over local government councils, because the Constitution clearly provides, right, for local government areas and for local government councils, and the Constitution intends for them to have some autonomy, right, from both, the federal and from the state government.
Now, the appeal court had ruled against the councils, right, because they had filed their original suit before Makinde sacked them. The appeal court said that there was no reasonable cause of action since Makinde had not sacked the councils at the time of filing, and that they were simply trying to preempt him. But since Makinde sacked them eventually, shouldn't the appeal court have realized that the suit had been overtaken by events?
In hindsight, they probably should, right? And on this point, I'll try my best to tread very carefully, because there's a bit of an unwritten rule about how far members of the Nigerian bar can criticize our judge. But the thing is, the appeal court based its decision on a technicality, and it was a technicality, as to time. And what we are increasingly seeing in terms of the emerging judicial attitude, right, within our courts, it's not prevalent, but it's slowly taking hold. And the Supreme Court has, to their credit, they've been at the vanguard of that. Is, the courts are beginning to take a more they're beginning to take the courts are beginning to look a lot closer at, doing their best to not throw out suits on the basis of a technicality, right? Yeah, if the subject matter of the suit is so fundamental, either to the interpretation and the construction of the Constitution, or as to the interpretation and construction of a very, very significant piece of law or legislation, right? The courts are increasingly showing an increasing willingness to overlook technicalities and actually try to deal with the substance of the matter. Now, I personally think that since the Supreme Court decided to overrule the appeal court, right, for basing its decision on the solely on the premise of a technicality, the Supreme Court should have gone far. The Supreme Court should have just gone the full 9 years and actually dealt with the substance of local government autonomy, because this has been a pressing and a burning issue in Nigeria's democratic tradition for the better part of 20 years now. And it's an
Ikemesit? Hi, Ikemesit, are you there? All right, we seem to have lost connection to Ikemesit, so we're going to give him a call back. I do hope that Esther's listening and Esther calls him back as quickly as possible. But yeah, he was saying that this is an issue that has been around for a long time. The Fourth Republic will turn 22 years old next week. In that time, we've seen dozens of governors dissolving local government councils, right, and appointing caretakers. How come this is the first time the Supreme Court has weighed in? How come ALGON, the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria hasn't challenged the legality of this thing before now, you know? So these are all the issues that Ikemesit will address for us as soon as we have him back on the line. Esther, if you're listening, call him back. Thank you. I don't know what happens to my call screeners sometimes, you know. I think they go a little insane a few times, you know. It happens once in a while. But yeah, the Supreme Court did not reinstate the councils. That's also something else that I found curious because their terms have expired. So instead, what the Supreme Court did was order the Oyo state government to pay them all their outstanding salary and allowances for the full term. But I noticed that the court did not say that the illegal caretaker councils should refund the government for their own illegal salaries. I noticed that. So, doesn't this mean that it's really the people of Oyo State that are paying the penalty here? I'm curious what Ikemesit will say when we have him join us again. And also, apart from the salaries, there's also policies, right? So, if a governor illegally sacks a legally elected council, he appoints caretakers. Those caretakers enact policies for years without any legal mandate. The Supreme Court has now affirmed that they were illegitimate. Doesn't that mean that every action they took while they were in that office was illegal? All the contracts they awarded, all the rules that were enacted, every punishment that they enforced, what's the legal implication of that? Good thing we have a lawyer on the show with us, huh? All right. We've got Ikemesit back on the line. Ikemesit Efyong is a lawyer and senior researcher, senior analyst for SBM Intelligence. Ikemesit, sorry about the break in transmission.
Not a problem.
Like you were saying that this has been a problem for a long time, and I mentioned that we're going to be 22 years old. The Fourth Republic will be 22 years old next week, and in that time, we've seen dozens of governors dissolving local government councils, appointing caretakers. And my question was, how come this is the first time the Supreme Court has weighed in? How come the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria hasn't challenged the legality of this thing before now?
So I think it's partly been a political decision on their part because this has been like I mentioned earlier, this has been a very extensive this has been a pervasive problem. And there's extensive evidence of state governments and state governors really usurping the powers of local government councils, stretching back, pretty much the entire life cycle of the Fourth Republic. So it actually bleeds me and a lot of illegal observers, as to why this is just coming up. The second bit just has to do with the general attitude of our judicial hierarchy, right? It takes a lot of time, and there are so many hoops, for a litigants to cross before a matter actually ascends to the point of a Supreme Court hearing, and that's kind of where we are. Having said that, it's actually this present actually was pretty speedy in terms of how long it took for it to work itself through the Nigerian judicial process. Really, our profession and the judiciary is very famous for having suits that circulate in the system for 20, 25, 30 years. Right? This got up to the Supreme Court in a matter of a few years. So from a long view, right? If you adopt a long view attitude to the matter, yes, it's taking a very long time for this issue to have merited the Supreme Court hearing. But in terms of the actual life cycle of this specific suit, it's lightning speed by Nigerian standards.
Which is why I'm wondering if this was a missed opportunity. Will the Supreme Court have to wait for another sacking or something like that to get another opportunity to rule on local government autonomy?
Indeed, very much so. And that's why, my initial reading of the the attitude that the Supreme Court eventually adopted in, simultaneously expanding the boundaries of the appeal, away from just, the appeal on the technicality, right, of that, that predicated, the Court of Appeals decision, while simultaneously narrowing the field in terms of not, substantively dealing with the issue of local government autonomy, right, was quite curious, right, from my perspective. It's going to take a while before, a suit of a similar kind or broadly involving similar parties in terms of having, a state government on the one hand and, maybe the Association of Local Government Councils or even a local government council that decides to take up this matter, or a consortium of local government councils taking up this matter as, say, a class action suit, right? It's going to take a while before that kind of thing comes up, right, before the Supreme Court, if it ever does. And I feel, personally and also in terms of, my informed professional perspective, right, as a legal practitioner, that I think the Supreme Court should have been more adventurous, right, than it eventually decided to.
And I also see that the Supreme Court did not reinstate the councils because their terms have expired. So instead, it ordered the Oyo state government to pay them all their outstanding salary and allowances for the full term. And I noticed that the court did not say that the illegal caretaker councils should refund the government for their own illegal salaries. So doesn't this mean, and this is a question I was asking when we lost you there for a bit, doesn't this mean that it's really the people of Oyo who are paying the penalty here?
It would appear so, right? Not just in terms of the missed opportunity at having effective representation and governance enshrined at the local government level, but also in terms of what is the how far should restorative justice go, right? How far should we go in terms of restituting and compensating people who have been, who have gotten the short end of
we don't do a lot of that here, do we?
Obviously, illegal executive action, right? And our legal tradition is a bit mixed, right, in terms of how far we can go. So on the one hand, you want to provide for adequate compensation, right, for people in terms of, maybe, having a monetary value tied to the lost time, right, which, for example, in this case, right, those council, officers would have had to be, in office. But also our laws are not very keen on compelling institutions, right, and even corporate organizations, just organizations in general, from, having people that they clearly have decided or made the determination are unwanted, undesirable, or not fit for their purposes on those people. So in this, what does that mean, right, in this case? So, while our courts would be more than willing to offer compensatory judgment, right, in terms of, monetary compensation, the judicial, award for, damages, right, our courts are less inclined to compel institutions to readmit, reemploy, or have maybe a second or a third or a fourth take, right, at administering an administrative process if those institutions determine that the people that, came up as a result of that administrative process are people they clearly do not want. So the court will rather just give you the money and tell you to go and probably issue a judicial, note of caution, or you call it a warning, right, to, future practitioners not to, carry out, or participate, right, in those practices. But are court to be less inclined to compel you to rehire.
Yeah, but apart
Fired.
from salaries, there's also policies, and I mentioned that earlier. So a governor illegally sacks a legally elected council. He appoints caretakers. Those caretakers enact policies for years without any legal mandate. Now the Supreme Court has affirmed that they were illegitimate. Doesn't that mean that every action they took while in that office was illegal? All the contracts they awarded, all the rules enacted, every punishment they enforced. Is there any legal implication of that?
So from a jurisprudential, like a legal philosophical perspective, that would be the logical conclusion to draw, right?
On a Niger we did.
Well, I won't put it that colloquially as you would, but in effect, that's really what it is, right? Yeah. So the thing is this, right? So let's back away from the judiciary for a minute, and let's talk about the wider democratic tradition of Nigeria, right? We've got three arms of government.
Right.
You've got you've got the executive, you've got the legislature, and you've got the judiciary. Now, all of those arms have the various tiers, especially at the federal and at the state level, right? So you have the federal and state judiciary, you've got state legislatures and, the National Assembly, and then you've got, the federal executives, right? Headed by the president, and you've got state executives headed by state governors. Our judiciary, which is, let's not forget, an arm of government, right, is always wary about ensuring that its powers are not interpreted so liberally that they are seen to be encroaching on the turf of the executive and the legislature. Now, this judicial attitude is not a very common, thing. As if you're familiar with the American Supreme Court, for example, right, or even the UK Supreme Court, there are many other democratically elected, there are many other democratic traditions, there are many other constitutional democracies like Nigeria that have judiciaries that are very, very activist, that are very, very open and willing, right, to impose their perspective and their idea about how, executive power should be administered on all of the other tiers of government. Our judicial tradition, which is more rooted in British, in the English, colonial and judicial tradition than even the English are these days, right? Adopt a more cautious approach. So the judiciary sees itself in Nigeria largely as a tool for actualizing justice in a restorative way. So how much, and usually it's about money, how much or how far in terms of a judicial action can we go to ensure that you're put in a place of comfort, you're put in a place where you, as the litigant, as the person who brought up this matter before us, how far can we go in our decision making to ensure that you are put in a place of comfort as though, this injury never occurred, right, to you. But when executive action is added to that, the judiciary is a lot more wary of doing things that it thinks the executive or the National Assembly are more competent. So take for this instance, if we were to take the idea of restorative justice to its logical conclusion, the Supreme Court, and this is me, so for any lawyers who are listening out there,
a lot of them are calling.
Or who might mention me. I'm making a philosophical argument.
You have about 30 seconds to do it because we have to take a break.
Okay, great stuff. What you would expect the Supreme Court to do would be to reinstate those council officers, complete with their entitlements, emoluments, and all of that, rescind any executive action that was taken by those caretaker councils, and basically the cycle, is seen to have continued as if these guys who, won this case at the Supreme Court, right, were never removed in the first place. But our Supreme Court is thinking these officers are supposed to have been elected. They were supposed to have gone through a party process. We are a couple of years down the line. Would a party or would an election bring these guys, return these guys as leaders now? Unlikely. So why should we impose our will or our view of who the local council chairman in Oyo should be at this time, not at the time they were removed, but at this time on the
Okay.
people of Oyo.
Let's leave it at that. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue this conversation and we can hear your thoughts as well, Lagos.
8 times 500 naira, 4,000 naira. 8 times 5,000. Hi! I beg.
Where una dey see this money? Money care. Na the ogbonge bonus wey dey sama me as I buy new SIM card o. See dem dey give me double data subscription plus 8 times awoof anytime I recharge. Oh boy, what's up for me now? You know say you fit buy SIM card now for any accredited Airtel shop, ba? Just go there with your NIN, just like that.
Sure guy.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Enter the place and it brighten. Make everybody they wonder. Waiting me cause all the shine. Lush hair. Long hair or short doesn't matter. Crochet or dreadlocks can be better. Only for girls we know better. Lush hair. So you want to slay? Slay with swag. Gotta be lush hair. Gotta be lush hair. Straight or curly. You know they tango. Lie. Gotta be lush hair. Gotta be lush hair. Wonder how I shine like this. I'm on a lush hair, be the coco. Say you want to know. And if you wanna be fine like me, I can show you where to go. A lush hair, be the coco.
Beautiful people know how to make an impression, and that's why they only trust Lush Hair Extensions to bring out the shine in them. Lush Hair, be beautiful.
Mama Shade, this your pikin no well. Make you take am go hospital now. My sister, na big money be that too. Which big money? You never hear about LSHS Ilera Eko? Ilera Eko? Wetin be that?
Now, true, Lagos State Health Management Agency, LASHMA, don't breed correct healthcare plan. Well, makes sense for your domot. Enjoy supply healthcare where your hand feel rich. This one, now for everybody where they live inside Lagos State, they call them a Leraco. Whether you be civil servant, small private business owner, trade professional, or even market man or woman. So far, you they live inside Lagos. This better now for you.
Make you register with Ilera Eco branded agents or outlets where you see Ilera Eco logo.
Pay 40,000 naira every year for family package or 8,500 naira every year for one person. Make you begin enjoy cool mind. For more information,
Call 0700 Ilera Eco or 0800 Ask Lashma.
or make you visit www.lashma.com.
Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. Rama. You just dey come. Me, I don't break my fast with the food where they give us for here. In fact, now so kill we kill before we collect time.
So, all this stress on top say you want collect fruit for breaking fast. Don't worry yourself, because me don't get get fruit from Adron Homes. You remember I tell you about the Ramadan promo? You sef fit benefit from Adron Ramadan promo package. With chicken money like 25,000 naira initial deposit, you go get food pack or shopping voucher and even spread the payment within 24 months. E no finish for there. For every land where you buy, you sef go collect gift. If you can't pay 1 million income, you go collect food pack, bag of rice, clothes, and even shopping voucher. Take join body. Hey, waiting you they wait for. Oya sharply go Adron Homes, make you sef benefit from the Ramadan promo. For more tori, make you call us for 080-6753-0328 or 0708-897-6929. Football is back, and there are more ways to win on BetKing. With mega odds and the widest market selections ever, you can increase your winnings with an accumulated bonus of up to 225%. Don't have an account? Visit betking.com to sign up now and claim a welcome bonus up to 100,000 naira. Stay safe and keep kinging. BetKing, playground for kings.
So, madam, what symptoms are we talking about here? Does he talk too much over the phone?
Yes, doctor.
Does he browse too much also?
Yes, too much, doctor.
Oh, I see. And he never runs out of data, right?
Doctor, as a matter of fact, if my husband is not on a call, he's watching videos and laughing so loud.
Kai, madam, your husband has got the Glow Breaker fever.
Yes! Catch the Glow Breaker fever. When you register and activate the new Glow SIM, you get 600 naira bonus instantly. Up to 100% bonus on every data plan, so you can browse, talk, and chat as long as you like. Both new and existing customers also enjoy 700% bonus on every recharge. Visit the nearest Glow World or retail outlets to register and activate your SIM.
Glow
Whoa, that is amazing.
It is amazing, Eddie. And the only place in the world where you can watch all of this amazing football in May is on DSTV.
Be amazed by the world's best football when you get connected to DSTV.
Charles! Yes, Mommy? Go and bring 2 sachets of hypo bleach for me. Why 2? Because I'm using one to soak the whites and using one to kill all the germs. But I can't see any germs here. They are so tiny you can't see them. But they are there. And that is why I trust only hypo bleach to kill them all.
Make your white fabrics whiter and your household free of illness causing germs and viruses with the disinfecting power of hypo bleach.
8 times 500 naira, 4,000 naira. 8 times 5,000. Hey!
I beg, where on they see this money? Money care. Now the ogbonge bonus we the summer me as I buy new SIM card. See, then they give me double data subscription plus 8 times a woof anytime I recharge.
Oh boy, what's up for me now?
You know, say you fit buy SIM card now for any accredited Airtel shop, ba? Just go there with your NIN, just like that.
Sure guy.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Ever so often, we hear billions and billions of naira stolen by politicians. After a little noise, the matter dies down. Do you wonder what happens to all that money? Bad roads, poor power supply, police brutality. Everyone is asking when Nigeria will get better. 54% of interactions with the police end in payment of bribes. A 2019 report shows that about 117 million naira is paid as bribes yearly in Nigeria. Nigerians, say no to corruption. Demand that your lawmakers do the job you elected them to do. Don't ask for or pay bribes. Demand that elected officials pass anti-corruption laws and prosecute offenders. Like Alice Walker said, the most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. Work with SERAP to demand accountability from elected officials. Visit www.serap-nigeria.org now to sign a petition to demand good governance. This message is from the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP.
With support from the MacArthur Foundation.
Hello? Eddie, my friend.
Yeah?
May is going to be amazing with DSTV. There are 155 matches from the Premier League,
What?
La Liga, Serie A, Champions League, and FA Cup.
Whoa.
That's 2 of the biggest cup finals and 3 of the best leagues in the world, reaching the pinnacle of the season.
Whoa, that is amazing.
It is amazing, Eddie. And the only place in the world where you can watch all of this amazing football in May is on DSTV.
Be amazed by the world's best football when you get connected to DSTV.
Enter the place and brighten. Make everybody they wonder. Waiting me cause all the shine. Lush hair. Long hair or short doesn't matter. Crochet or dreadlocks can be better. Only for girls we know better. Lush hair. So you want to slay? Slay with swag. Gotta be lush hair. Gotta be lush hair. Straight or curly. You know they tango. Lie. Gotta be lush hair. Gotta be lush hair. Wonder how I shine like this. I'm on a lush hair, be the coco. Say you want to know. And if you wanna be fine like me, I can show you where to go. A lush hair, be the coco.
Beautiful people know how to make an impression, and that's why they only trust Lush Hair Extensions to bring out the shine in them. Lush Hair, be beautiful.
I feel alive, so alive. When I'm with my best friends, indulging my tea exotic. Nothing makes my drink more than when the mixer is delightful, tea exotic. And after a long day, I wanna relax with the taste of my tea exotic.
Indulge and get lost in the deeply satisfying taste of the Chi Exotic range of delicious fruit blends.
Chi Exotic Nectar. I love the taste. Now available in can.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We are back.
We're back on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
5:36. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and before the break, we were talking about local government autonomy. Interestingly, local government autonomy is a conversation that you will be having at the Senate public hearing on restructuring later this month on the 26th and 27th. It's one of the issues that they want you to address at that hearing. Is local government autonomy, feasible? What would it look like for you? How much autonomy should the local governments have? How should that autonomy be enshrined? So part of our goal on the show today is get into the issue and have a robust conversation about it, so that when you're talking to when you're talking at the hearing, you're hitting them with the facts. You know what I mean? Sharing the context with them. Here on the show with me today is a legal practitioner who's also a senior analyst and researcher at SBM Intelligence, Ikemesit Efyong. And before the break, he was talking to us about the philosophy that guides a lot of Nigerian courts. We talked about the Supreme Court ruling in the Oyo case, the Oyo local government case. You remember the one. Right before Makinde took office, the previous administration held local government elections. New councils were sworn in. But the day after he took office, my guy sacked everybody, appointed caretakers. And the sacked council members went to court. Almost 3 years later, they got this judgment. Now, let me come to you real quick, and let's talk about what happens if another governor decides to dissolve elected councils, right? So in spite of this ruling, another governor in another state decides to dissolve elected councils and appoint caretakers. How do the elected officials and the people stop it from happening?
In terms of actually stopping it and ensuring that it's not successful, I don't think that's likely. I don't think there's any chance that anyone who's exercising executive power won't be able to exercise it, even if the exercise of such power, goes clearly contrary to the precedent that the Supreme Court has set in this case. I expect more legal challenges, and I think that's a really beautiful thing that this ruling in the end has achieved. I think, if anything, the legacy of this ruling is that it's now set a precedent that lawyers and legal practitioners can study, that juries can chew over, debate, argue, consider, and clearly it establishes a precedent that, no state governor can come out and argue and say that, they acted, say, in innocent ignorance of the law. We could excuse Governor Makinde, for example, for maybe, either not seeking or getting the appropriate legal advice, or just consulting, the experience of many other state governors who have, been able to carry out, the same kinds of actions that he did, and get away with it, at least from a legal perspective, right? So, in terms of actually stopping, I almost wanted to label that behavior as recalcitrant, but I don't think I should go that far. But in terms of stopping contrary behavior, right, on the part of state governors, maybe it will serve to educate, right, state governments across the country. It will be interesting to see if there is a formal reaction from any state governor or from the federal government, right, on the issue, especially considering the fact that, since it's the Supreme Court, there's no other route of appeal, right? To anyone in the legal profession, that we joke that, after the Supreme Court, you can only appeal to God. So yes, but it does set, that precedent, and from here on out, we'll know that, any state governor who behaves in a similar fashion, is clearly doing something that, has been stamped by the highest court of the land to be outside his constitutional powers.
Now let's talk about local government elections themselves. And after this, Lagos will come to you and take some of your thoughts, because I'm seeing WhatsApp messages pouring in. A lot of Nigerians simply don't respect those elections. I had an episode here on Hard Facts where I was asking Lagos if they would go and vote, if they would campaign for anybody who was running for local government councils here in Lagos, because we've got elections elections coming up in July, local government elections coming up in July. And overwhelmingly, the response I got was, I beg, I beg, I beg, I beg, I beg, I beg, I beg. So a lot of Nigerians simply don't respect those elections because they always say that the elections favor the governor's party. Now, you know that local government elections are run by the state independent electoral commissions, and the SIEC chairman and commissioners are appointed by the governor. Is there an argument to be made that because of this, local government elections are not credible, and that and that local government councils are never truly independent of governors anyway?
I think that argument can be made. Okay. If anything, we do know for a fact at SBM, for example, that Nigerian elections are generally poorly attended, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the participation rate for the 2019 presidential elections, which is actually the elections that everyone really pays attention to, or ostensibly pays attention to, right, was 39%, which is actually the worst in the history of the Fourth Republic, right? That number in 1999 was close to 60%, right? I think it was about 58%. So, and just to benchmark historically, the participation rate of the electorate, so those who were registered and validly accredited to vote, in 1993 was up north of 70%, right? So that puts into context, right? The conversation around local government elections. Local government elections easily do, participation rate of 15%, 10%, 12% across the country. But I'm not certain that the problem is credibility. So the problem is credibility, but it's credibility of a different kind. It's not a lack of credibility that is fed by, the fact that, the state governor, by extension, the ruling party in the state has the ultimate appointing power, over the state independent electoral commissions. I think it is a problem of a credibility in terms of the gap in governance. And this is where the attitude of state governors in really controlling the way local councils are, I was going to say elected, but in actual fact, most of them are appointed, right, directly by the state governor, is actually feeding into that general public perception that local governments are irrelevant. So most Nigerians think that local government councils are irrelevant because local government councils are not visible in terms of what the tangibles, in terms of the tangibles they bring to the table, right? So in the stream of flood of messages right now that are pouring into, the Nigerian info lines, right, that have been fed by this conversation, I want people to actually text in or call in and tell me who their local government chairmen are. Very few people know. Like, I recently moved apartments, right, within Lagos. I now reside in Kosofe local government, area. And the only reason why I know my local government chairman is because he lives on the next street from mine.
Ah, big man.
Yeah, no, that's the wrong conclusion, Sandra. Focus. But that's the thing. But the point is, the vast majority of Nigerians don't know, haven't seen, haven't heard, can't trace, can't contact, can't get in touch with their local government chairman. So for many people, when it's local government election time, the question is, who are we electing? What are our options? Where's the track record? How do we keep you honest? How do we track, the process and the progress, of governance? Local governments have been made invisible, right? Largely because, right, they have become, for all intents and purposes, an extension, right, of state governments and state governors. That's why most Nigerians focus on their state government and the federal government that they can see, even during election time. You see the bread, you see the token, you see the token allowance, you see the rice, you see all of those things. If not the roads or the good hospitals or, or the good schools or all of the other dividends of democracy, as we like to call it, that we should be seeing. So local government councils are invisible, and you can't engage with something you can't see, you can't interact with. And I think that's ultimately, I think that's the tragedy of the lack of autonomy of these councils, right? They can't set policy. They have no voice in government. They have no control over their purses, right? And, they are appointed, and sacked, right? And, basically at the whim, right, of, the state government who's in charge. And so they've basically been obliterated as an independent tier of government. And that's why Nigerians largely don't care, right? But then the argument is that we should care because they should exist and there are things that they should be doing, and we are not getting those benefits because in large part, we are demanding for what are actually local government priorities from state governments. When we talk about
all federal governments.
Yeah, when we talk about improving education, for example, yes, federal, and state governments, have the constitutional competence to set policy, but in terms of the actual implementation, in terms of knowing where the schools are, in terms of knowing who the teachers are, in terms of the money who the ultimate responsibility for execution should be on, that's a local government priority.
All right, let's talk to Lagos. 0700-993-993-993. Men, call me on that number. Women, call me on 01465-7190. 01465-7190. For men, 0700-993-993-993. There's, of course, WhatsApp. WhatsApp is 080-959-75825. 080-959-75825. That's for WhatsApp. Hello, thank you very much for calling us. Sorry about that. Call back if you can. 99.3, hello. Oh no, sorry about that. All right, let's see who next. 0700-993-993-993. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, what's your name?
Michael Maro. Maro. Maro.
Welcome, Michael Maro. You're live on the show. Go ahead.
Yeah. I want to know the Senate recently passed the payment of dues directly to the House, to the local government. Am I correct?
Okay. The
Now,
Senate recently what? Say that again.
Recently approved the payment, that is the money subvention of the local government direct to them, not to the state government anymore.
I'm not sure that that's accurate.
Well, that argument has been on for some time, and I think so.
The president issued the order, but no one's obeying that just yet.
God. Well, if that has failed, some years back. We have gone some years back again. But I was thinking that has passed, and I was thinking if this one, the Supreme Court has taken this bold step again, and the states, the local governments have this feeling that if the state governor do not have this authority to take them off the office, I think they will now vie for final autonomy, and they will get it. But the fear before now was that do anything and the governor will throw you away. So I think gradually the country is moving democratically, maybe slow, but this is a positive step in the right direction. Thank you.
All right, Michael, thank you very much for calling. David is in Ibesha Island. Hello, David.
Good evening, Sandra.
Good evening, David. You've got 2 minutes.
Okay, straight to the point.
Yes, please.
The technicalities that our judges use in determining a case is a very serious problem that has to be addressed. A situation when a lawyer fails in his or her responsibility in filing a case properly, and because of that, you allow the litigant to suffer for it, can no longer be accepted. So they have to seriously look into that. Then in the case of this election, we should now amend the law so that enough time is given, so that before you sworn in an elected person, it will have been finally determined in the court. So the situation whereby somebody who doesn't have the right that was appointed, we now have access to public funds, and and at the same time, the judge is now still asking that the elected ones should be paid for work they have not done. So I don't know how they are wasting public funds this way.
David, thank you very much for calling. At this point, I will say thank you to Ikemesi Young for giving us an hour of his time today and talking to us about this issue. I mean, I'm sure we've got so many other questions. I mean, someone on WhatsApp, for instance, is saying, do we really need the Supreme Court to rule on the autonomy of local government? Wasn't it expressly and unambiguously stated in the Constitution? But it's a conversation that we may have to come back to one more time before we're done with it. Thankfully, they're going to debate it at these public hearings. Ikemesi, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, as always, Sandra.
Yes. Lagos, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
A multinational company in Lekki, Lagos is massively recruiting independent sales executives that own a car and a valid driver's license. Are you ready to work with the company with the most history worldwide? Are you ambitious, a smart worker? Do you have a great attitude? Ready to take your career to the next level? Here is an opportunity for you. Please call 0815 705 0505 or 0905 637 4258 to book for an interview.
All right, we've got Kelvin from Shasha who says, we've asked our question already by Kevin. We need total devolution of power, or better, Joseph from Shasha says, so that from the federal to state, from state to local, so that we can be able to know who is responsible for one thing or the other. As it is now, local governments blame states for their failure, while states blame federal for theirs. For example, governors are chief security officers of the state while they are not in charge of the security agencies. Autonomy is the answer. Obata Joseph, thank you very much for your message. Okwekende says, my local government here in Alimosho is 0. We have the highest votes in Lagos State, but we have the least development. Even if autonomy is being given to local governments, the chairman will behave like emperors. The structure is decayed. All right, then. Thank you very much for your message. We have more people sending us messages via WhatsApp, but there's not enough time to take a look at those messages, is there? But I will try and take one call before we have to call it wraps on the show today. The number to call is 0700 993 993 993 for men and 01 465 71904 for women.
Are you a salary earner and experiencing salary delays? In need of school fees, loan, or house rent? Does your business need expansion and you've got no money? Do you need a car or equipment for personal or business use? Worry no more. With Creditville Auto Lease and flexible loan products, you are just a call away from achieving your financial goal. Simply dial
07000 330 330.
You can also send us an email via info@creditville.ng or log on to www.creditville.ng. Creditville, financing you for a good life.
All right, Azubike is here from Orile. Azubike, hello. Thanks for calling us. Azubike is not there anymore, but thank you very much for calling. Hello, thank you for calling. 99.3, hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name?
Ajao Ibrahim.
Welcome, Ajao Ibrahim. You want to talk about local government autonomy?
All the play just a minute.
Okay. All right, then. Hold on so that we can find out what the high score for today is, first of all. And then we'll see. Oh, you think it's 9? You think the high score for today is 9?
Yes.
Oh, look at that. You are paying attention, aren't you? All right, you are correct. Yes. It is 9. Okay, then. So you have to answer at least 10 questions, and that's how you win. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
This is Just a Minute.
How many states recorded new COVID cases yesterday?
4 cases. 4 cases.
How many?
4.
Which state had the most COVID cases yesterday?
Delta.
Delta?
6.
Which state had the second most COVID cases yesterday?
God.
Did yesterday's COVID numbers go up or down from last Monday?
Up.
Senate public hearings are starting on which date?
2027.
Senate public hearings are holding on what topic?
Restructuring.
In which state has the NLC called a general strike?
Kaduna State.
Whom did Governor Nasser El-Rufai call a false professor and cursed?
Ayuba Waba.
An SSA to which state governor was arrested in the USA?
Governor Sheyi Makinde.
The Supreme Court ruled against which state governor for sacking local government councils?
Oyo State.
All right. Unfortunately, you didn't answer up to 9 correctly, but well done. Huh? Good attempt. Good attempt. Huh? You answered only 6 correctly, which means that our winner for the day is Sarah Adenoya, who called on the Morning Crossfire. Morning Crossfire people are taking our money. Hard facts people used to be the baba of this game. What's going on? What's happening? What's happening? Huh? What's happening? We need to teach these people how it's done. Come on. Tomorrow is another day that you can try and win. Tomorrow is also the day that we continue our conversation about parenting and how parenting affects gender equality. We started last week. It was quite the fantastic conversation. If you haven't heard what we talked about, you can check it out on any podcast streaming service. Search for The Glass Ceiling Show with Sandra Ezekwesili and listen to the most recent episode of The Glass Ceiling last week, where we talked about parenting and how it affects gender equality. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we come back at 4 to talk about that. But 3 o'clock tomorrow is when I start the show, same as any other day, and we'll bring you 3 of the biggest stories of the day. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili on social media, Ezekwesili on Twitter, Ezekwesili on Instagram. Those were your hard facts, Lagos. Good night.
Do you need to meet up your goals for the year? Then here's the good news. Goals are easily achieved by choosing Creditsville as a reliable credit assistance. Creditsville is accessible and reliable at
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.